Hey, I'm Mike Kramer, KramerNow.com, and I help entrepreneurs build passive income without expensive programs by building unique digital assets that help others. What's going on, guys? So since we spoke, what I've done and learned since the last podcast, it's been about a week, I think. Feels like a long time ago, but we have a big episode today, a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. What's new with business in my world? Well, I'm just over 80% done with the real estate license training course. That's just for the 60 hours, though. So after that, there's a separate 15-hour course. So not sure why they're separate, but it varies state to state. It's just how Illinois is. In the e-commerce world, I might switch from Stripe to Braintree, which is a PayPal company or something like that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, but would love to hear from anyone that's used both Stripe and Braintree. And let me know what you think of Braintree. BigCommerce partners with them and offers lower rates and would integrate all the payment methods within one processor, which I like. I don't believe there's any drawbacks, but I haven't dealt with them in terms of like chargebacks. And I mean, hopefully I don't get many, but when you have refunds, and biggest problem I find with payment, like merchant vendors, is that I have a variable product sale price. So, I have strings that are $30 and I have guitars that are $3,000, $5,000, and they start to flag those and reserve the funds, and it's a real cash flow nightmare. So my general rule of thumb for e-commerce then is that you have 1 or 2 times worth your most expensive item in cash flow reserves so that you don't get tripped up. So been pretty happy with Systeme so far. That is the kind of all-in-one platform. I will probably start building my course in Systeme very soon to really test it out. It's not really till you try things in a platform that you start to discover what you like and don't like about it. So I haven't tried that yet. If I hate it, I'll either use Thinkific, which I think is a good value and have heard good things about it, or I might go with Thrive Suite on WordPress, since they kind of do everything and I'll have more control and I don't mind the extra kind of techie stuff in WordPress. So it's better and cheaper than LearnDash. You can do way more stuff. I've heard some people say that LearnDash can do a few more things though, but I didn't see it yet myself, but I haven't tried, both of them, to be fair. So LearnDash is $199 a year for one site, $399 a year for 10 sites. That's something that installs on top of WordPress. And Thrive Suite is another suite of plugins that installs on top of WordPress, but it's only it's $299 a year, but that's for 5 sites. So, you get 5 sites for $300 instead of 1 site for $200. Although if you need more than 5, the LearnDash has $400 for 10 sites. The thing about Thrive Suite, it's more than just the course builder. It has, funnel builders and form and pop-up builders and other things. You can check them out. They do a bunch of stuff, custom themes, page builder, email, everything else. They don't like manage your email, like GetResponse and stuff, but they can help you collect it and do the forms and stuff like that. So decided to change e-commerce platforms from WooCommerce to BigCommerce. As much as I love the control of WordPress and customization, if you're doing e-commerce, I really cannot recommend WooCommerce. There's so many things it's missing and it's so confusing, even for an IT expert like myself, to try to piece it all together. And even if you do, it's not like I couldn't figure it out. I got it running. It's been running a few months, made sales. But then when you put in the shipping, there's no shipping add-in. And you can buy one for $50 a year, but now it's not free. That's something that's essential to me for e-commerce, is just letting your customers know their item shipped and their shipping status or order status has changed to ship, and they get an email with their tracking number. Like, that's basics. It's $50 a year, but still doesn't give you the ability to change this order status to shipping. It just drives me insane. So I'm moving to BigCommerce. They do all those basics and way, way more stuff. It's really the same price if you start off on the $30 a month platform. In fact, I added up, it's about $32 a month if you break it all down in the annual fees for WooCommerce and the themes and all that and hosting. It's about $32 a month for WooCommerce for most people, and BigCommerce is $30 a month. Sure, BigCommerce goes up after you sell $50,000 a year to $80 a month, but I think that's still very reasonable, and it works way better. You don't have to worry about stuff. So I have some points here, reasons why I don't like WooCommerce. It's really not free, which is fine, but just stop advertising that way that it is. You need, a page builder for $100 or $200 a year, a paid theme for $100 or $200 a year, just to get it to look decent. And to be fair, you You do need, I recommend a $300 paid theme for BigCommerce. They run $200 to $300. The one I'm using is $300. It's WooCommerce is buggy as hell. You just do regular updates that say they're compatible, and yet everything breaks. So it doesn't tell you it's broken though, right? It still works until you randomly surf around in your website store to see that all your formatting got thrown off, even though you never edited a page. This has happened to me 3 times. And just everything about that sucks. So you have to manage the CDN and the cache updates. Those are, performance improvements and maintenance with the updates. Figure out and piece together a dozen or more plugins just to find out that when it's too late, you'll find out that WooCommerce doesn't even do the shipping or tracking of any kind without paying for their paid plugin, which is still lacking because it doesn't change the status to ship for the order. It just sucks. So anyway. Yeah, the order status of shipped, you have to do that. You can change it to completed status, and it emails them with their tracking number. I like to follow up with them, make sure it arrived, and change it to shipped status. So if they check in, oh, that one's shipped, right? And then when it arrives and the tracking shows that it arrived, and I'll either email and call them and follow up, or just go off of that email or the tracking showing that it arrived, and then I change it to completed order. So that's just customer service. I'll keep your customers happy. I'm upset. I wasted a bunch of time and money building out my store on WooCommerce, which sucks, just to rebuild it on BigCommerce anyhow. And, now have to migrate live customers, their order history, shipping info, their addresses, and hundreds of SKUs of products. So it's very upsetting. You end up being the IT guy, and there's no support whatsoever. WooCommerce has no support. Don't tell me that the community is going to help you, because really, who cares? No one is accountable to help you. I'm a little disappointed though in Shopify and BigCommerce. I did check them both out, that they're both so limited with theme editing and the drag and drop editor, but you can dig into the CSS and edit the theme if you really want to, although it breaks the auto updates for that theme then. It's somewhat limited, but there are some very good looking themes out there. Even the free ones are okay. It's just I'm particular about certain things, so I had to buy a theme to get me as close as I can, and now I'm customizing the crap out of that. Trying to stay within the themes though, because I really don't want to have a pure custom theme. But another funny thing happened. So my wife saw a funny obituary in the paper. She likes to read the paper. And she saw this obituary where the family called the 60-something-year-old woman that passed stubborn, this is in the obituary, stubborn, strict parent, avid smoker, basically a bunch of mean things said in a slightly nicer way. So it made me think about writing our own eulogy, which I've heard other people recommend, which is a great way to focus on what's important in life. And it's something that when you try and you write out your own eulogy, you start to see what's important or what should be important in your life. And then you check if your calendar is reflecting that. So we've talked a little bit about that on past episodes. So death may seem morbid to many people, but when we aren't really dwelling on the death part, we're just accepting it as inevitable and realizing that death is why we have very little time to do what we want to do. And if that's not motivation, I don't know what is. So in the movie Doctor Strange, I was rewatching that last night, the Ancient One said, death is what gives life meaning. To know your days are numbered. Your time is short. So I couldn't agree more. It reminds me of another saying that when you're lying on your deathbed, not one person has ever said, man, I really wish I spent more time at work. So speaking of mortality, life, and health, I have a quick comment on keto and cholesterol. So I'm a big fan of that. I don't want to make this channel about that or anything, but just those of you that have been following in the past. So though the science has been out for a while, I just found this interesting. Even recently, I've heard people say that they've quit keto because it spiked their cholesterol. So yes, it does spike it if you're measuring it the traditional way, which is not an accurate way to measure it, and it's not a bad thing that it's spiked. And here's why. So for one, our hearts run on cholesterol. It's required for our hearts to function. When we talk about bad cholesterol, they talk specifically about LDL, not HDL. LDL is not a measurement. It's a calculation, and although it sort of works for comparing close averages, it's a horribly flawed calculation because it rewards people for having high triglycerides, which are known to be horrible. So triglycerides are actually what's really bad, not the LDL. It's such a bad calculation that doctors are ceasing to use it and have switched to a much better calculation to measure relative health and fat in the bloodstream. LDL is usually estimated since measuring it is quite cumbersome, so they calculate it using the traditional Fry Dewalt equation, which is total cholesterol minus HDL cholesterol minus triglycerides divided by 5. The real ratio that people should use is triglycerides divided by HDL. So the LDL was traditionally using that Fry Dewalt. It had triglycerides as the divisor on the bottom. So I don't know if the Fry Dewalt equation's a little newer and maybe that's a little better than the one they used to divide by triglycerides, but the real ratio that you should use is triglycerides divided by HDL, and that ratio should be 2.0 or lower. Using that calculation, I had seen my, LDL spike, so to speak, on cholesterol, on keto. But using this triglycerides divided by HDL, I went from 3.2, which is really bad before keto, to 1.8 while on keto, which is fantastic. My blood sugar was way down, which is key. And, I was probably pre-diabetic and everything. So your blood sugar and this triglycerides divided by HDL at 2.0 or less, those are the two numbers that are much more important. So this is a much better calculation that rewards you for having high HDL, good cholesterol, and accurately shows how bad triglycerides are. All right, next we got from the library. So I'm still reading Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod. I feel like I've been reading it forever. It is kind of a tough read. It's a lot of small words on a lot of pages. So unlike the last book I read, which was, I guess I was spoiled with large words on less pages. But I'm on about page 210 or so. I'm near the end. He's going over practical methods to put the Miracle Equation into practice on a daily basis for us. So it's great stuff. Very, practical. You can implement it. If you don't read anything else in that book, just skip to the end there where it has how to use this in daily practice. I'm going to write my own mantras that he talks about and statements and wrap up this book. The next book up I have is Ed Milet's The Power of One More. So I'm excited to read that one. And I'm going to go back and read The Miracle Morning, which I never read by Hal Elrod. It's his previous book. And it supposedly has something to do with giving you a good morning routine and waking up earlier and doing all that stuff. So I haven't been looking forward to that, but hey, we procrastinate because there's some sort of pain that we are aware of or afraid of. So I'm going to just get it over with and maybe it'll help me, So now it's time for our deep dive. So our deep dive topic today is what you don't need to get rich or fit. So we're talking about information versus action. Sometimes we feel that we shouldn't take action until we have all the right info or more information, right? It's true. If a hobo on a street told you to eat Ho-Hos and Twinkies 30 times a day to look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you should question that info. On the other hand, far too often, we get caught up seeking all the answers and consuming endless amounts of information before we take any action or commit ourselves to life-changing action. So which is it? Which is more important? This is chicken and egg stuff, right? Which comes first? So I learned and I follow a mantra that addresses exactly this dilemma, and it's proven to be successful for me and countless others. It's learn, do, teach, in that order. So what does that mean? Learn a little bit of whatever you're trying to accomplish, take action on that new information immediately, then teach it to others. Then learn more, do more, teach more. It's a cycle. So I know you're thinking, but what if you're afraid you don't have enough information or the right information? What if the info is like Hobo Twinkies, right? And you're just wasting your time doing the wrong thing. So it's hard to know for sure, but in today's age of internet communication and all the reviews and peer recommendations and things like that, it's pretty easy to have high confidence that you can find someone that has good, reliable information and has gotten the results that you want. So that's it. Don't look for 10 other people that have different info or programs for the same result. I mean, it's okay to find someone that resonates with you. I frequently will go through different, check out different programs before I go into one, seeing if it's someone I enjoy listening to and the program is within my budget. But that's it. Once you found what you're looking for and they resonate with you and it's reliable info, just get started. Don't underestimate your own ability to become highly knowledgeable in something very quickly. But what solidifies that and makes you an expert is action, and action over time. Making mistakes is actually what makes you an expert, so don't be afraid to fail. We don't need more information to succeed. If info was all that we needed, we'd all be rich, thin, fit, and have everything we want. What we need is a solid daily action plan that is simple, focused, sustainable, and measurable. We need to take action, set goals, and create good daily habits. Your plan needs to be simple so that it's easy to follow, so that there's no confusion whatsoever on what exactly you need to do each day. Your plan needs to be focused to get a clear result. It can be a stepping stone to a bigger goal. For reference, focus on a goal that you want to achieve in 90 days or less. It has to be sustainable, so it's something that's realistic and logistically possible for you to do daily for a year or more, or long enough to get results. I don't mean like if you feel like it or not, or just can't seem to find the time and that sort of thing. I mean, if you're being honest, you can stop binge watching TV 3 hours a night and spend 1 or 2 of those hours being more productive and working on your goal. I mean, it's not something like, run 100 miles a day when that would be impossible or near impossible to do daily for a long time. So it's fine to have stretch goals, but when it comes down to your daily action plan, it has to be possible to achieve. You break down the daily work effort with the math from your goal and work backwards, and that math has to work. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to make $500,000 a year as a real estate agent. Many agents would laugh at you and say, you're crazy. They know people in the business 10, 20 years that don't make that much. And, 95% of agents stop after 2 years and they just quit. But if you're full-time and that say 180 contacts, you get one listing. That's roughly the math for most people on average. So it's just math from that point on. So say the average sale price for homes in your area is $400,000. Average 2.5% commission. It's therefore $10,000 per sale commission. So to make $400,000 a year, you'd have to make 40 sales a year. So since it takes 180 contacts to make one sale and only roughly 50% of people pick up their phone, that means you have to make about 360 phone calls to make one sale. To make 40 sales, which will get your income you're looking for, you have to make 14,400 phone calls per year. It's a lot. So 240 working days roughly per year. That's figuring 48 weeks of working, 4 weeks vacation, and just 5 days a week that you're calling. And you take that 14,400 phone calls, divide it by the 240 working days, you got 60 phone calls per day. Is that a lot? Yes. Is it impossible? No. That's 10 phone calls per hour for 6 hours. If you're quicker, you have a dialer, you got your routine down, it's 15 calls an hour for 4 hours. Very doable, but it will wear you down. You're going to get a lot of no's, but that's roughly the math. So measurable, that's an example, right? Break down the math for whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Your daily actions have to be measurable. So using this calling example, it means every week that when you do your weekly review, you can write down and know exactly how many calls you made that week per day, how many contacts, how many appointments you made, and eventually how many sales. And then you're tracking your metrics to see, are you on target? Are you with industry average? Are you exceeding, what things worked? You could start doing A/B testing to see what works better. By studying these ratios over time, you can see where you need to improve, and then you know what you need to work on. The random thought of the day. So the Base magazine subscription, it's a print subscription, they ended. And I got my last issue today and it said, this is the last one. We're going fully digital. Random thought is just, how did vinyl come back when it's so big, clunky, literally wears out every time you play a vinyl record and it gets scratched easily. They're not portable. I mean, you can't really play it when the power is out. A magazine you can. How is vinyl records, how are they surviving, but printed magazines aren't, right? They're just dying. They're going away. I think it's great for the environment as far as saving trees and everything, but there's something nostalgic about magazines and flipping through one on a rainy day and seeing some of those ads. I was actually going to run an ad in there for my store, but such is life, right? So going digital, I guess just random thought of the day. How come vinyl lives, magazines die? What are your thoughts? All right, now it's time for the time hack of the day. Yeah, that's what I thought. So this time saver today is you could DVR. I did this over the weekend for the Bears season opener. You could DVR sports games, gain an hour, fast forward through just the commercials, and still finish the game live on time. All you need is like a DVR or a service like my cable provider does. You do your DVR on a schedule. The game's already set to record. That way, if anything happens, you didn't get home on time, it's already recording anyway. You should be doing that. So, for example, the Bears game was from noon to 3 on Sunday this past weekend. Season opener. And they won. It was a miracle. Rained real hard. But anyway, I started watching the game at 1 p.m., fast forward through the commercials, and still ended at about 3 p.m. Yeah, still ended whenever it ended, right? I was caught up live about third quarter. I felt like I was still watching it live the whole game. The end of it was all live, and I gained an hour where I got a lot more done. So I was able to sneak in this, make an hour. I still watched the whole game. I got an hour more of work done that day. So pretty cool hack, I think. I know some people have their routine and they like to do things during the commercials, and maybe you're making your snacks and all that sort of thing. But all right, thanks for your time. Let me know what you want to hear next. Links to everything will be in the description. As always, check my website, kramernow.com, with step-by-step guides and links to my socials, podcasts, and books I've read. Find me on YouTube. Just search for Mike Kramer Marketing. Have a great day and take it easy.